The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Bob Bleier on hand to usher in the new football season. Feels great in July, doesn't it?
Always love talking football. Always love it.
We love bringing you in.
That's great.
This is sort of a festive day. Mike Catalana, whose responsibilities at Channel 13 are going to take him away from the show for, as a regular basis.
Right.
It's been 7 great years. We've loved having you, and we've really needed you here to keep him in line as best we can. I don't know what we're going to do without you.
Out of the way.
But we'll enjoy the show while we've got it. Who are you wearing here today?
I believe it's the 4th overall pick for the Minnesota Twins a couple of years ago. It's the patriotic jersey from the 3rd of July this season to benefit Best Buddies. Great charity, by the way.
Is it Cole?
Is it Cole? It's spelled weird, yeah. But yeah, I'm very excited about this, and it fits. So how about that?
Very good. Hey, July, start of training camp. It always struck me. It's the hottest, worst time of the year to be doing these things. You can't stand in line outside without just perspiring. And yet for football players, it's...
And if you look at what the NFL teams have done recently, they go to a lot of shells. So they don't go full pads a lot, just uppers. We call it uppers, shoulder pads, helmets.
But what's the positive thing? What do you take out of it that makes you excited about going through this grind in July?
I think part of the problem is that, when you're on your own in the off season, it's difficult to have that level of intensity of competition. It's really, really hard. Sure, we all train on our own in the off season, but once you get between the sidelines and there's a commonality and a camaraderie between players and teammates, I think you elevate to a different level, and it gets you into a different level of understanding, as well as you get in shape quicker. You're forced to get in shape. And those that didn't do anything in the off season, they're weeded out early. It's very obvious if you didn't work.
How do you feel about it? It's sort of like New Year's to us.
It is, but there's now so many more mini camps and times that the team is together. And I think this is the 20th year of Bill's camp here at Fisher, and it's even changed during that period of time from what they used to do. But you go back to the Fredonia days when the team was working out, especially even when they were really good, the players were coming back to camp to get in shape. The off-season was a time guys put on some weight. They weren't around that much. They had like one mini camp, and they had 5-6 weeks sometimes or 5 weeks, I guess, to get in shape. Different world now. These guys come into camp. They are ready to go. They better be ready to go, or as certain players could get away with it a little bit, but they better be pretty high up, and everybody is on them in that point too.
In addition to all of that, if you take it way back, they were playing 6 preseason games.
6 preseason games, and let's be honest, you can go back to that period of time. Guys had off-season jobs. Now, some of the guys who aren't full-time NFL players yet and trying to make it, of course, they've done other stuff, but at this point, they're doing it that way. They played those 6 preseason games. They worked so hard to do that and ramp themselves up to the regular season. Honestly, these teams come in now, they play a preseason game within 10 days, and they're kind of much more ready to go than they were years ago.
It's kind of cool. Puts you on the field with the players for, the time they're at St. John Fisher.
Sure, well, but that's the most brutal part. You're talking about the heat and the sweat and like how, it was fun for you and enjoy it. The break room broadcast life and training camp at WCMF. It's brutal in that tent. Like, I'm exhausted sitting and talking when the sun hits that tent, and then standing on the sidelines, I'm just sucking down Gatorades, trying to replenish electrolytes. I have no idea how a human body can endure practices like that in the heat against other world-class athletes. Like, I would not have that ability.
I'm just wondering, it's kind of 3-on-1 here. If you're different because you played the game all the way through to the NFL level. Is that what just separates you?
Pat, you used to have a lot of fat on your body. Okay?
Yeah.
So replacing electrolytes was kind of really important for you.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So my point being is that, when you get to that level, you've done it in college, you've done doubles and triple sessions in high school and in college. When you get to the NFL, if you're not prepared and you're not in shape when you step on the field, unlike the 70s and the 80s, when you use the entire preseason to get in shape and all the preseason games to get sharp. So you're not in that. You don't have that luxury now. There's too much money involved. There's too much competition. There's too many teams now that are in the upper power rankings. I mean, that's the idea, is to get up in the power rankings. So I completely agree that this is where your manhood shows, and your paycheck is, you get rewarded for a large paycheck.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We talk Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Hello there, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Buffalo Bills at St. John Fisher training camp. So one thing you want to see them accomplish while they're here?
Well, I think I want to see the entire roster elevate in this sense. I look at this team and I see talent. Certainly, we've talked about this, more talent than they had a year ago. That's not saying a lot because of the low threshold that we had for talent. The quarterback position is better because Allen is definitely going to be better than he was when he came to camp last year. And Barkley is a viable backup quarterback, which they didn't have a year ago. But I want to see this team start to take the look of the teams we've seen in the past few years, that second year of the quarterback situation, everybody elevates a little bit. And they take on that personality. I'm not saying it's strictly of Allen, but of a team that knows, I mean, let's be honest. Last year, there were times they were thrilled they could make it down the field. I mean, the offense was incredibly bad most of the time, and then Allen showed those flashes. I want to see a team that starts to look the part in that way, takes on his personality and elevates. Because the problem I have coming into this camp is, people talk about, what's your pick and how do you think they're going to do? And I say to myself, and then say, who do you look at on that roster? And you go, well, we know this guy's coming through for them. And I come up with two guys, and they're both on defense. I'd say Trey White and Micah Hyde are the two guys who play well nearly every week. It's tough at corner position. Hyde plays well every week. I guess Lorenzo Alexander, even though he's almost 37 years old, offensively, I don't know a guy that has done it multiple years that you can count on. Now, can Allen elevate this entire group and then they all start playing better and then a guy like Cole Beasley comes around and shows those flashes? That's what I want to see. I don't know if it'll come out in numbers. I don't know how. I think you'll just feel it. I think you'll watch them and say they're different.
I'm interested to see how they're going to work out the running back situation because you got LaShawn McCoy, you got Frank Gore, you got the third-round pick out of FIU, right?
Devin Singletary.
There you go. Thank you. So, and on top of that, you have a fullback in Pat DeMarco, who is an albatross for contract, and you can get rid of him if you wanted to, but it seems like McDermott likes him. I want to know how you're going to work two guys at that age in Gore and McCoy splitting carries. Gore, by the way, being a guy who is a kind of a short yardage back at this point in his career, and how much touch you're going to give the young guy to ensure that Josh Allen doesn't have to put his body on the line the way that he did every week last year. I don't know if we're going to be able to see that in camp because, LaShawn McCoy and Frank Gore, I'm guessing, aren't going to get much run with the first. So we're probably going to see this third-round pick show up and be able to play out. But yes, I'm very curious as to how they're going to work that backfield.
I want to see them form as quickly as humanly possible the offensive line and get the people in the positions that they need to play in and stick with it. What do you need?
I think the key is getting Josh Allen to be dynamic and accurate in the short game. 3 yards in a cloud of dust is not what the Bills can do any longer. They're having trouble up front, so I think that the short passing game should open up the running game this year. And I'm talking about 3-step drop, quick outs, quick release, quick routes, keeping the defense on their toes, which would spread out the defense and help the running game. So I'm hoping that what they do is they use the passing game to aid the running game this year because Allen's got a cannon. And the reason that I'm making that point is because of Cole Beasley. That's the kind of receiver he is. He's a short route receiver. He's not going to beat you deep. Great hands over the middle. And I'm hoping that they can kind of develop that kind of passing game so the running game works.
I think that group's going to surprise us.
I hope so.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, we know the ratings for baseball are going to be down. The New York Yankees, in first place and playing great baseball, are down 26%.
It makes absolutely no sense, not only for the reason you brought up that they're playing well, but you have legitimate personalities on this team. You have young superstars that are budding. You have people that you can hate. And, what Aaron Boone does the other day, freaks out, gives you a drama off the field situation. It makes absolutely zero sense, especially in a baseball-loving market like New York. The Yankees, arguably the most valuable franchise in the world. Why did people decide now, after all the pain that they had to go through the last couple of seasons, to stop watching the Yankees?
Is this a comment on the whole home run thing? I mean, they're based on home runs and setting records all the time.
Well, I guess
see
you could say it's home runs and strikeouts. That's what they do. It's what most of these teams do. That number is pretty high. It's also, ability to people to monitor games without watching them has increased and increased and increased. I mean, you can, even if you're not watching the game on your phone, you can sort of follow it. You do the highlights. And there's a whole section of people who that's the way they follow the Yankees or the Red Sox or any other team. They watch some games. They follow them in other ways, too. So that hurts the ratings, too, because you don't have to watch the game.
You watch baseball?
No.
Not at all? Well, there you go.
I agree with 100% with what Mike said. Typically, when I was growing up, you went to 5, 10, 15 games when you were young, growing up, 70s, 80s, maybe even the early 90s. Now you go to one game, and you find the games on social media, on the web, live streaming or what have you. So you don't have to really attend the games anymore, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
We mentioned at the top of the show that this is Mike Catalana's last time as a regular panelist on this show. We're sure he's going to come back and haunt us periodically. He's been with this show since we started this 7 years ago. It's a good long run. Here's some of his highlights. Welcome to the debut edition of the Rochester Press Box here at McGregor's. I'm Bill Pucko.
The Heat are going to have LeBron for a while, but Dwayne Wade is going to start breaking down. I think he showed it a lot last year. Roger Clemens, I think he is showing to be even a bigger fraud than I think he was before. Kenny's a little goofy, and then Barkley's nuts. Yeah. So it makes for a great combination.
It's balance. It's great balance, yeah.
2014 Rookie of the Year. Oh!
I wish it would have been more of a competition, but unfortunately I am that good at this.
I didn't vote, I'll just say.
Yes.
Can I call timeout?
No, Mike.
This is the first time in the history of any show where anybody has talked about game planning for Scott Chandler.
Am I wrong? Look at what's been happening the last couple of weeks. 4th and 19, 4th and 20, 21-yard gain. Everyone knew it was going to him. Everyone knew it was
Chandler
coming.
actually looks like a legitimate tight end ever since Kyle
Can we
Orton
mark
took
the tape
over.
on this? I want this tape marked. I want it marked.
You
right
laugh.
now.
Mark my words.
No, I am laughing.
Mark my words. Chandler will have a touchdown and 70 yards on Sunday.
Okay, that might very well happen. They kept pretending like information would get out when they...
Hey, it's Bean calling you right now. Direct TV. Just keep going.
I had a lot of DirecTV issues today.
His name is Jerry. He's been going to games since they were at the War Memorial Stadium. He tailgates every week, brings his RV, sleeps the night before, and leaves the morning after. It is his experience, and if they take that away from him, he will not get season tickets anymore.
I gotta tell you, they're not gonna care about Jerry.
But what about Jerry? What about Jerry?
And it's your tradition. Karma. I had to give him that.
It was awesome.
I'm sorry. It's the first mistake I've ever made.
Ever, yeah. Except for that.
Here we go. 4, 3, 2. I 100% agree with you.
What is happening? 3, 2, 1. I lost a piece of my childhood this week, and sports fans in Rochester lost a big part of what being a sports fan in Rochester was all about.
I dropped my phone. Maybe my phone was just getting tired of waiting for you to get it right. Can you mark the tape right here as I say this? I agree with everything Duffy said.
Rookie of the year.
I do.
You sound like a crazy old man on his porch. It's gonna rain one of these days. Oh, we need it. It's gonna.
Doesn't it rain?
Yes, it does rain. Years.
It's the smugness that comes
But
with the
look at what's
Philadelphia
happened.
Eagles fan.
But look at what's happened here. The Patriots have made moves in recent time. They could still have Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback for that team, and then the future for the Patriots would be a lot
That
different.
will haunt them.
How do you know? You don't even know Garoppolo. Okay, man.
How's that again?
I am deeply concerned about how we're going to manage this guy in your absence.
All I realized is I'm the funniest one on this panel.
That was the funniest thing you've ever said.
At the end, I got a few thoughts. How about that?
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one. Score!
Unwrap a sweet escape at Dunkin' with Hershey's Cookies and Cream and Heath flavors in your favorite espresso drinks. And make it even more delicious with a $2 medium latte or cappuccino between 2 and 6 p.m. America runs on Dunkin'.
Thank you for joining us. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
You know, Bill had mentioned this is Mike's last show as a regular person here, and I want to steal his thunder one last time. A lot of people think that the way we interact with each other, Mike and I, that we hate each other. I don't hate Mike Catalana. I hate everything that comes out of his mouth. But there is a reason why Mike is so good at what he does, and save this tape because it's the only time I'm ever going to admit it, all right? Mike Catalana likes sports. In fact, all the folks that are on this show, the sports folks you see, talking heads, like sports. And I know that sounds like a stupid thing to say about folks that work in sports, but there's a dirty little secret about our business. A lot of the men and women that you see reporting and writing and on TV about sports don't like sports. They're sick of sports. They resent folks that are in the business. They get exposed to things that they don't like, and they just stop enjoying it. The folks that you want to read, that you want to watch, are the folks, you want to find those folks that still have the passion that they had when they were 10, 12, 15 years old, at 40, 50, 60 years old, doing this thing. Don't tell anybody, but there are events that'll come to this town, major events, where I'll scam media passes to so I don't have to buy tickets because, you know, I like sports. And there's always one other guy in the press box with me that doesn't need to be there. It's Mike Catalana. And yes, I have to hear him drone on about old guy stuff, but it is refreshing to see someone that's been in his business as long as he has that still likes sports. I hate you so much.
Well, thanks, Pat. That's really nice.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Mark that tape.
You know, old guy comments aren't necessarily bad.
No.
Just saying.
No.
All right.
Hey, football season's coming up. A lot of new rookies are on rosters. My biggest excitement during the football season, especially in preseason, is seeing a lot of these young players play and they have a chance to make an NFL roster. One guy on my radar that I want you to take a look at this year is from the New York Giants, Sean Laletta, former University of Richmond quarterback. Great arm, did well in the Senior Bowl, 6 for 8, 2 touchdowns, 159 yards. The guy's solid, smart quarterback. There's a number of those players in the NFL that you need to kind of watch for and hope for and squeeze for. But the Giants are one of the teams on my radar this year, and I'm really hoping they're going to do well.
Quarterback Factory. Do these guys take any of your records off the books?
All of them. Had 15 when I graduated.
Yeah.
I have 0.
None.
0.
Well, the game has changed.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah,
hand
so
the
much.
ball off a lot, and now they throw all the
him
time.
a ball.
So, yeah.
All right, so this is at my last show as a regular panelist. I always wear the jacket with no tie because from the beginning, that was the uniform for this show, and it's changed a little bit. Some people didn't like that as much, but we thought it was a good idea. This has been a lot of fun to do. Bill does a great job with this in order to bring in these personalities around, keeping them together. Joe and his crew behind the scenes, fantastic job editing. It's always a better show when I see it and see it on the air and you get a chance to see it because of the work that they do. Our guests are usually really good. No, we've had great guests, people giving great perspective when they come in, even, you know, bartenders every once in a while that we've had in here. And then there's Pat. And Pat brings enthusiasm. He brings his voice to the show. He brings that fan voice to the show. But I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret about Pat. He has no idea what he's talking about. He really knows nothing about sports. He thought I was going to say something nice, but I got the mic for the last minute. So that's what I'm going to say. This guy takes our way out there. Nobody believes anything he says, but the little secret is he actually believes most of this stuff, and he says it all the time. No, old man take there. I'm really just kidding. Pat's been a lot of fun, brings a lot of energy to the show. He will be the guy driving this thing with Bill and our guests every week. So I've enjoyed being in this format I'll be on 13 still all the time. We've got some other stuff going on you'll see on social media. It's been a lot of fun, and I've appreciated letting me be here every week.
Thanks, man. It's been great.
I miss you.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse Unfinished Business, brought to you by Duncan. Thanks, Bobby. Always good to have you. Your expertise in the football game. Mike, as always, Pat, thank you.
You did a really great job to make it look like you didn't fire him.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week for the Rochester Press Box.